Now, when it comes to Tasha K, things are about to get genuinely catastrophic. And I'm going to be straight with you before we even step into this one. The Tasha K loyalists, the bottom-feeding comment section dwellers who have made it their full-time unpaid occupation to defend a woman who has spent the last 6 years digging her own financial grave with a backhoe, have officially become the most insufferable, the most willfully blind, and the most embarrassingly dedicated army of internet hostages I have ever witnessed in a celebrity feud. And they have this strange, almost cult-like obsession with drowning out every single piece of factual reporting that exposes the woman they have decided to die on a hill for. Well, congratulations to them. They finally did it. They poked the bear one too many times. They begged for the receipts. They taunted the universe for the truth. So today, we are giving them every single ounce of it, and then some. And I just need to say up front, if you have ever donated to her GoFundMe, if you have ever subscribed to her channel, if you have ever defended her in a quote retweet, you are not going to enjoy a single second of what is about to follow. You're probably going to scream. You're probably going to delete the tab. So please, stand with me on this one. Drop a like. Hit subscribe. Push this video. Because what we are about to walk through is a federally documented annihilation, and I have never needed your engagement more than I do right this second. So without wasting another breath, let's tear this whole thing open. When it comes to Tasha K and this brand new federal filing and everything else that this self-appointed gossip queen has been desperately trying to do in the so-called next chapter of her career, well, somewhere underneath all of the noise, all of the GoFundMe theatrics, all of the radio confessionals where she swore on live air that she was financially untouchable, there is a documented, dated, court-stamped reality that nobody on her side wants you to see. We are watching a woman attempt to outrun the most relentless plaintiff in modern hip-hop history. We are watching her husband, Cheick Ndikibe, get pulled directly into the blast radius. And we are watching the legal team she paid to protect her get publicly sanctioned by the very same judge they were trying to manipulate. This is what we are up against. This is why we need those likes pushed to the top of the algorithm. This is why this story matters. Because if Tasha K can pull off the financial sleight of hand she is allegedly attempting, then every internet villain in America just got a new playbook. But before we even get into the federal complaint, before we even open the contempt order, before we even talk about the House, yes, the House, we are going to get there, and you are going to lose your composure when we do, we have to start at the beginning. Because none of this happens without the original sin. It was 2019. A YouTube blogger named Tasha K, drunk on view counts and addicted to the dopamine drip of comment section validation, decided to manufacture a multi-episode demolition campaign against Cardi B. And I am not talking about gossip. I am not talking about light shade. I am not even talking about the kind of unverified rumor that floats around the gossip ecosystem every single week. I am talking about a deliberate, surgical, character assassination operation that included false claims about hard drug use, weaponized lies about Cardi's physical health, and grotesque insinuations about prostitution. Lies broadcast to millions of subscribers who consumed every word like communion. And Tasha K did not just say these things once. She built an entire content franchise on top of them. She monetized them. She turned defamation into a recurring revenue stream. Cardi B did not flinch. Cardi B did not subtweet. Cardi B did not waste a single Instagram live tear on it. Cardi B walked into a federal courtroom, sat down with her legal team, and proceeded to deliver one of the most devastating civil litigation knockouts the YouTube creator economy has ever absorbed. In 2022, a jury, 12 regular people, looking at 12 pieces of evidence, handed Cardi a $3.8 million defamation verdict. $3.8 million. For a YouTube blogger. For a woman whose entire business model was built on the assumption that internet gossip carries no real-world consequences. That verdict was supposed to be the end. That verdict was supposed to function as the obituary on Tasha K's career. Every legal analyst in the country said the same thing: she's done, she's finished, she's never recovering. But she didn't accept it. And that, right there, was the most catastrophically stupid decision she has ever made in her entire adult life. Like a wounded animal that refuses to read the room, Tasha K decided that bankruptcy court was going to be her escape pod. In 2023, she filed Chapter 11. By 2025, the court confirmed a repayment plan that, in what can only be described as one of the most generous mercy rulings in recent celebrity legal history, slashed her actual obligation down to $1.2 million spread across 5 years. 5 years. $1 million too. For nuking another woman's reputation. The court basically said, we will give you a runway, we will give you a future, we will give you a way out of this hole, but you have one job, and one job only. You stop talking about Cardi B. You stop talking about anyone connected to her. You stop forever. You stop completely. You stop publicly, privately, on podcasts, in live streams, on Twitter, on Threads, on every single platform that has ever existed or will ever exist. She violated that order more than 25 times. 25 times. On YouTube. On X. On Instagram. On TikTok. On Facebook. On Threads. On a radio show. In a podcast appearance. In a live stream. In a deleted tweet. In a re-uploaded video. In an interview where she allegedly believed she was being clever. This was not a slip. This was not a careless aside. This was not one bad day. This was a deliberate, multi-platform, calendar-organized, content-calendared, audience-monetized defiance tour. A woman so chemically dependent on the dopamine she gets from saying Cardi B's name that she chose financial detonation over silence. The judge's contempt order does not read like a civil filing. It reads like a criminal indictment dressed in business casual. And the court, in some of the most devastating legal prose I've ever personally read, ruled with surgical clarity, the moment you press publish on a violation, the violation is complete. You cannot undo it. You cannot retract it. Deleting the post after the fact changes absolutely nothing in the eyes of the law. You cannot unpull a trigger. You cannot unfire a bullet. You cannot unpublish a betrayal. And what was Tasha K's defense in court? Brace yourself. Her legal argument was, and I am barely paraphrasing here, I had the legal right to say it. The judge's response was the legal equivalent of looking her dead in the eyes and saying, absolutely not, sit down, you don't get to weaponize free speech protections to violate a settlement you signed in your own handwriting. That argument didn't just fail. That argument got her own attorneys sanctioned. We're going to come back to that, because the lawyer angle is its own separate horror movie inside this bigger horror movie. But here, right here, is where the story stops being a defamation drama and transforms into something genuinely sinister. Something that, if proven in court, will likely become a textbook case in white-collar law schools for the next 20 years. Because while Tasha K was performing financial devastation in front of one courtroom, crying poverty, claiming destitution, swearing under oath that she had nothing left to give, she and her husband, Cheick Ndikibe, were allegedly running one of the most brazen asset-shielding operations ever documented in a celebrity legal proceeding. I want you to take a breath. Because this next part, this is the part the loyalists do not want you to read. According to newly filed federal court documents dated May 6, 2026, Cardi B's legal team has now formally alleged that Tasha K and her husband orchestrated not one but two parallel fraudulent schemes specifically designed to make her assets evaporate into legal vapor before Cardi B's collectors could touch them. 2 schemes. Operating in parallel. Layered on top of each other like a financial onion built for the sole purpose of making one woman's millions invisible. Scheme number 1. The Corporate Vanishing Act. Keebi Studios LLC, the Georgia-registered company that served as the engine of Tasha K's entire YouTube empire, the company that funneled every dollar of her monetization, every brand deal, every sponsorship, every subscriber-driven ad payout, allegedly generated over $1 million in YouTube revenue between 2019 and 2023. And then, in a maneuver so transparent it almost insults the intelligence of the legal system, by September of 2022, the entire business operation, and every dollar of revenue attached to it, was allegedly transferred wholesale to a different entity. That entity? Yelen Entertainment. The owner of that entity? Her husband. The price paid in the transfer? 0. Not a discount. Not a sweetheart deal. Not a token dollar exchanged for legal validity. 0. Nothing. A complete, unpaid, family-to-family transfer of $1 million plus business. And then, in the cleanup phase of this alleged operation, Keebi Studios was dissolved. Closed. Erased from the corporate registry. leaving Tasha K, on paper, owning absolutely nothing of significant value. $1 million operation. Vanished. For free. Into the bank account of the man she is married to. While she simultaneously owed Cardi B millions of dollars in court-ordered damages. The audacity is not legal. The audacity is artistic. It is so brazen it loops back around into performance art. Scheme number 2. The income rerouting operation. Cardi B's legal team alleges, and these are filed allegations under penalty of perjury, not internet gossip, that Cheick Ndikibe began funneling Tasha K's personal earnings through Yelen Entertainment's accounts to shield those earnings from any garnishment proceedings Cardi B might initiate. He allegedly removed her name from authorized accounts. He allegedly restructured the flow of money so that, on every piece of documentation a court would ever see, Tasha K appears to be generating zero personal income. Meanwhile, she is allegedly continuing to receive the benefit of those funds through alternative channels that no debt collector could touch through a standard garnishment order. A complete, top-to-bottom rebuild of her financial life, engineered, allegedly, with one and only one purpose. Keep the money out of Cardi B's hands. And then there is the house. Oh, the house. Picture it. $875,000 Georgia estate. Adjacent to a private golf course. Lake views. Fully renovated. The kind of house that gets featured in lifestyle YouTube tours where the host talks about how blessed they are. The kind of property a debt collector dreams about putting a lien on. Originally purchased in 2020 for $380,000. Renovated. Listed. And then, allegedly, sold directly to her own husband. Inside the household. So that when Cardi B's legal team came knocking with collection orders in hand, the property would be sitting in a name that legally insulated it from seizure. A house bought for $380,000. Renovated. Relisted. Then handed off intra-family. So that the most relentless plaintiff in hip-hop history could not get to it. Cardi B saw every single move. And Cardi B did what Cardi B always does. She didn't tweet about it. She didn't subliminally diss it on a song. She sued the husband. Let that sink in. Let that wash over you for one full second. Because the husband, Cheick Ndikibe, was, up until this filing, just a name attached to Tasha K's marriage paperwork. Now, that name is on a federal complaint. That name is being formally accused of being the legal successor to the original defendant's empire. Cardi's legal team, and I have to take a moment here, because at this point these attorneys are operating at a level of litigation dominance that should genuinely terrify any private citizen, public figure, or business entity that has ever crossed paths with this woman, is now pursuing Cheick Ndikibe and Yelen Entertainment directly. Their argument is structurally simple but legally devastating. If Yelen is the legal successor to Keebi Studios, then every single asset Yelen owns is fair game for collection. Every account. Every property. Every dollar of revenue. Every piece of intellectual property. Open the books. Open the vault. Cardi B is coming for all of it. And they are simultaneously seeking to claw back every personal dollar that was allegedly funneled through the husband's accounts to dodge garnishment. And if that wasn't enough to keep an entire household awake at 3 in the morning staring at the ceiling, the judge in this case did something that, in legal circles, is considered the courtroom equivalent of a referee not only ejecting a player from the game but ejecting their coach, their trainer, and their water boy. The judge sanctioned Tasha K's own lawyers. Her own legal team. The people she was actively paying, out of whatever pool of money still legally belonged to her, to protect her. The court found that her attorneys had filed legal arguments containing citation errors and positions that had absolutely no basis in any existing case law. The judge slapped them with a 10% penalty on Cardi B's attorney fees. Read that sentence again. The lawyers Tasha K hired to defend her became a financial liability in her own case. The shield turned into another wound. The people in her corner became another reason she is now bleeding out. This is no longer a legal case. This is no longer a celebrity feud. This is a documented, federally supervised, court-ordered annihilation. And it is happening in real time, in front of all of us, with every filing publicly available on Pacer for anyone willing to read. But here is where the story gets even more disturbing, because the Tasha K narrative on the surface is only the headline. Underneath the headline are subplots so dark and so strange that you almost forget they're all part of the same news cycle. So let's open the next door. Let's go further down. Let's talk about the GoFundMe disaster nobody on her side wants to talk about. In what insiders are now describing as the single most delusional financial maneuver in modern internet history, Tasha K, fresh off losing in court, fresh off the contempt rulings, fresh off the bankruptcy mess, allegedly launched a public donation campaign. The mathematics of this campaign were genuinely astonishing. To erase the debt she owed Cardi B through donations, she would have needed approximately 100,000 people to each donate $40. 100,000 strangers. To collectively wipe out the court-ordered debt of a woman who is owed that debt by one of the wealthiest women in hip-hop. The result? Catastrophic. Devastating. Borderline comical. She fell approximately $3,985,000 short of her stated goal. And reportedly, and this is the detail that earns its own footnote in the legal history books, Nicki Minaj allegedly contributed to the campaign. Even with Nicki Minaj in the donation column, the GoFundMe was a financial graveyard. Sources close to the situation say the failure of that campaign made Tasha K look dramatically more desperate in the eyes of the bankruptcy court than any sworn deposition ever could have. Because if her own audience, the people who have defended her loudest, who have argued for her hardest, who have built entire side accounts dedicated to her, won't put up $40 to save her, then the financial hardship narrative her own attorneys were pushing in court suddenly looked a lot more like a theatrical performance than a documented reality. And then came the radio tour from hell. In what legal analysts are now actively labeling one of the most spectacularly self-sabotaging press strategies in the history of celebrity bankruptcy proceedings, Tasha K allegedly went on a radio show, a public radio show, recorded, archived, transcribable, evidentially admissible, and declared, with what witnesses described as a tone of complete confidence, that paying Cardi B back was, quote, light work. Light work. Those were the words she allegedly used. About a multi-million-dollar court-ordered debt that her own bankruptcy filing described as financially crushing. She reportedly went further. She allegedly confirmed she was making $20,000 per month payments. She allegedly insisted she was not financially struggling. She allegedly painted a picture of a woman who had this whole thing handled, who was sitting comfortably on a pile of money, who was clipping the coupons of court-ordered ruin like it was a minor inconvenience. And then her own attorneys watched in real time as Cardi B's legal team picked up that radio interview, time-stamped it, transcribed it, and used it as direct ammunition to accelerate the enforcement proceedings against her. The contradiction was so glaring, so binary, so factually unrescuable, that it allegedly became one of the central pieces of evidence used to argue that Tasha K's poverty narrative in bankruptcy court was, to put it diplomatically, inconsistent with her own public statements. To put it undiplomatically, she sabotaged her own defense in real time, with a live microphone, while smiling. If you are out there right now and you are still on Team Tasha, if you are still in the comments section saying, they're just trying to silence her, if you are still pretending the woman who said paying millions was light work is somehow the victim here, I just need you to take a moment and ask yourself how many more red flags it would actually take. Because the receipts are not coming. The receipts have arrived. The receipts are time-stamped, indexed, and uploaded to the federal court's electronic docket. But this is the part of the story where I have to remind you, none of this is happening in isolation. This is not a self-contained legal drama. This is happening inside a broader ecosystem of betrayals, alleged setups, and shadow agendas that are quietly running parallel to the Cardi-Tasha war. And one of the most dangerous of those subplots is what's happening with Chef Milan and Shy Charles. So buckle in. Because this side story might actually be the most legally dangerous subplot of all. Chef Milan, the figure connected to the explosive Stefan Diggs criminal proceedings, has allegedly been releasing private text exchanges between herself and Shy Charles, who happens to be Cardi B's longtime hair braider. The texts allegedly contain Shy Charles's commentary about her own courtroom testimony on behalf of Stefan Diggs, testimony that Milan reportedly describes as a deliberate, coordinated setup. Now, on the surface, this looks like a simple loyalty fracture. A friendship breakdown. A textbook celebrity-adjacent betrayal. But sources who have been watching this play out are starting to think something much more strategic is going on. The theory? Milan is not leaking these texts because she feels morally wronged. Milan is allegedly leaking these texts because she is building a foundation for a civil lawsuit against Stefan Diggs, and she is allegedly using Cheick Charles as an unwitting source of admissible statements. Every time Cheick Charles responds to a text. Every time she defends herself. Every time she offers context. She may be, allegedly, handing Milan another piece of admissible evidence that could be used in a future civil filing. If that theory is correct, then Cheick Charles is currently walking into a legal trap with the door wide open. And the Diggs saga, which everyone assumed was finished, is potentially just beginning a second, much messier, much more financially consequential chapter. That is how layered this whole news cycle has become. Friendships. Lawsuits. Texts. Subpoenas. Strategic leaks. None of it is what it appears to be on the surface. Everyone in proximity to power right now is a potential witness, a potential defendant, a potential plaintiff, and a potential liability, sometimes all four at the same time. And while all of that is unfolding, let's pivot to another character in this saga whose rebranding strategy is, and I do not say this lightly, one of the most aggressive PR pivots I have ever personally witnessed. Cheyenne Bryant. The so-called doctor of psychology whose credentials are, depending on which source you read, anywhere between questionable and completely fabricated. Sources allege that Bryant was operating under the title doctor for a significant period of time without the academic credentials traditionally required to justify it. And then, in what can only be described as a masterclass in rebranding under fire, Cheyenne Bryant allegedly received an honorary doctorate on April 12, 2025, from Harvest Christian University Royal School in Dallas, Texas. Now, sit down for this part. Because the list of fellow honorary doctorate recipients from this same institution is, statistically, one of the most bizarre alumni rosters in academic history. Busta Rhymes. T.I. Dame Dash. Tiny Harris. Cedric the Entertainer. And I genuinely had to read this part 3 times to make sure I wasn't misreading it. The notorious B.I.G. and Malcolm X reportedly received their honorary doctorates from this institution on the same day, technically making them, in academic terms, classmates. Classmates. Biggie and Malcolm. In the same graduating cohort. From the same ceremony. From an institution whose accreditation, multiple sources note, is not recognized at the same level as Harvard, Howard, or any of the traditionally accredited universities in this country. Sources further allege that Bryant is now strategically leaning into religious and theological contempt, building a protective brand identity around her newly minted honorary credential. The accusation, essentially, is that Bryant is using God as a legal shield in the exact same way Tasha K is allegedly using her husband as a financial shield. Same instinct. Same defensive posture. Same playbook. Hide behind something the public is uncomfortable attacking, and ride out the storm under the cover of that protection. And here is the legal kicker: the honorary title is reportedly sufficient under existing law to allow Bryant to continue operating publicly under the doctor designation without immediate legal exposure. The shield works. The strategy is functional. Whether it is ethical is an entirely different question that the public will have to answer on its own. And then there is Vivica Fox. And honestly, the Vivica Fox segment of this news cycle might be the most quietly important segment of the entire week, because what happened to her exposes a structural double standard inside the entertainment industry that has been silently chewing through black women in Hollywood for 40 years. At 61 years old, Vivica Fox has been the target of what insiders are describing as a coordinated online harassment campaign attacking her physical appearance. A campaign, sources allege, that would never, under any circumstance, be directed at a male public figure of equivalent age. Morgan Freeman, by way of example, has been visibly aging in real time since approximately 1987, and there has not been a single viral comment thread mocking the rate at which he has done so. There has been no harassment campaign about the texture of his skin. There has been no algorithmic pile-on over the depth of his lines. He has been allowed, as men in entertainment routinely are, to age publicly with dignity intact. Vivica Fox has been brutally attacked for the crime of continuing to exist, as a black woman, past the age of 40, in an industry that has historically treated female aging as a career-ending scandal. And Fox's response? Witnesses say it was devastatingly composed. The body language of a woman who has stared down 40 years of Hollywood's most vicious double standards and refused, categorically refused, to allow that machine to demolish her. Meanwhile, in an almost cinematic contrast, the supermodel Iman, approaching 71 years old, continues to exist at a level of physical magnificence that sources have described as, quote, genuinely destabilizing to witness. Same industry. Same generation. Same archetype. Wildly different outcomes, driven, at least in part, by which women the public has decided to grant grace to, and which women the public has decided to torture for sport. And just so we're being intellectually honest here, none of these subplots are disconnected from the main Cardi B versus Tasha K story. They are all symptoms of the same underlying disease. They are all stories about women in public life being treated as targets for sport, and the women who refuse to be erased weaponizing the legal system to push back. Cardi B is pushing back in federal court. Vivica Fox is pushing back in the press. Chef Milan is allegedly pushing back through litigation strategy. Cheyenne Bryant is pushing back through theological rebranding. Tasha K is the only one of them whose pushback is collapsing in on itself, because her pushback was built on a foundation of fraud, contempt, and self-destruction. Now let me bring it all the way back home. Let me close the loop. Because I want everyone reading this right now to understand the gravity of what we are watching unfold. The Iceman of internet defamation, the woman who built an empire by accusing other women of unspeakable things, is now being legally dismantled by one of those women in real time. Every asset is in question. Every dollar is in dispute. Every property is on the table. Her husband is in the suit. Her company is in the suit. Her successor company is in the suit. Her lawyers are sanctioned. Her radio interview is evidence. Her GoFundMe is a punchline. Her contempt count is at 25 and rising. Her bankruptcy plan is hanging on a single thread. And the woman who put her in this position is not, and I cannot stress this enough, backing off. Not even a little. Not even slightly. Not even theatrically. Cardi B is not done. Cardi B is just warming up. And here is the part that should genuinely scare every internet villain who has ever taken a cheap shot at a celebrity and assumed the celebrity would be too busy, too distracted, or too rich to chase them down. Cardi B has spent 6 years now demonstrating, in court after court, filing after filing, that she will chase you. She will subpoena you. She will depose you. She will sue your spouse. She will sue your company. She will sue the company you transferred your company to. She will sit in courtrooms while you cry on the witness stand. She will outlast you. She will outfund you. She will outstrategize you. And she will turn your own radio interviews into the noose you hang yourself with. This is the new standard. This is the new precedent. This is what every YouTube blogger who has built a career on cheap shot defamation needs to study, frame on a wall, and look at every morning before they hit record. Because the world is no longer a place where you can lie about a celebrity, monetize the lie, and walk away. The world is now a place where the celebrity can sue you, win, watch you try to bankrupt your way out of it, sue your spouse, sue your company, sanction your lawyers, and reduce your entire life's work to a federally documented cautionary tale. And the worst part, the part that should keep every Tasha K supporter awake tonight, is that this is just the beginning. We are not at the end of this story. We are at the end of the prologue. The federal filing dated May 6, 2026, is not the conclusion of the war. It is the opening shot of Phase 2. Cardi B's legal team is, by every indication, just getting started. The next phase will involve depositions. The next phase will involve discovery. The next phase will involve subpoenas to financial institutions, to YouTube itself, to the platforms that paid out the revenue that allegedly disappeared into the husband's company. The next phase will involve emails. The next phase will involve text messages. The next phase will involve sworn statements from witnesses who have been quietly waiting to be called. And every single one of those phases is going to produce content. Every single one of those phases is going to produce headlines. Every single one of those phases is going to make the previous phase look like a warm-up. So if you thought this week was a lot, and trust me, this week was a lot, wait until next week. Wait until next month. Wait until the depositions start dropping into the public record. Wait until the discovery requests start exposing what's actually in those Yelen Entertainment bank accounts. Wait until the husband has to sit, under oath, and answer questions about transfers and timing and intent. Remember this moment. Write it down. Save the date. Bookmark the article. Because what we are watching right now is the slow-motion legal execution of an internet villain by the most determined plaintiff in modern celebrity history. And every chapter is going to get bigger, louder, more documented, and more devastating than the chapter before it. And here's the meta-observation I want to leave you with. The reason this story matters, the reason it transcends a celebrity feud and becomes a culturally significant legal moment, is because it represents the first time the legal system has actually kept pace with the internet defamation economy. For 2 decades, YouTube creators have operated under the unspoken assumption that the internet was a lawless zone. That you could say anything. That you could monetize anything. That you could destroy anyone. That the celebrity would either ignore you or move on. Tasha K bet her entire career on that assumption. And Cardi B has spent 6 years personally disproving it, in courtroom after courtroom, with a kind of grim determination that should be studied in every business school media law module from now until the end of time. This is not just a lawsuit. This is a precedent. This is a warning shot. This is the moment the internet finally got served with a subpoena. And Cardi B is the bailiff. So now, with all of that said, I want to know what you think. I want to know if you saw this coming. I want to know if you have ever in your life watched a defamation case escalate this aggressively, this thoroughly, this surgically. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me which subplot you want me to break down next. Do you want the full deep dive on the Chef Milan and Shy Charles texts? Do you want the forensic breakdown of the Cheyenne Bryant honorary doctorate scandal? Do you want the comprehensive look at the alleged Yelen entertainment transfer and how Cardi's legal team is mathematically reconstructing where the money actually went? Tell me. Because we are not finished with this story. We are nowhere near finished. We are still on the front porch of this house. We have not even walked inside yet. And if this video brought you the breakdown you weren't getting anywhere else, if it connected dots that no one else is connecting, please drop a like, smash subscribe, push it into the algorithm. Because the loyalists on the other side are organized, they are aggressive, and they are flooding the comment sections of every honest creator covering this story. The only way the truth keeps winning is if people like you, watching right now, keep pushing it forward. Your engagement is the difference between a story that gets buried and a story that gets told. So thank you. Genuinely. From the bottom of every word on this script, thank you for sticking with this one. And in the meantime, if you want to see exactly how the depositions are about to unfold, exactly which financial institutions are about to be subpoenaed, and exactly what Cardi B's legal team is planning to deploy in the next 90 days against the Tasha K and Cheick Ndikibe legal infrastructure, well, you are not going to want to miss the next breakdown. Because the puzzle pieces are already on the table. We are just waiting for the moment somebody flips the box over. And when that happens, and trust me, it is happening sooner than anyone in Tasha K's camp realizes, the entire structure she has spent the last 3 years quietly building is going to collapse in front of a federal judge who is, at this point, openly running out of patience with her. So check out the next breakdown. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And remember, when the most relentless plaintiff in hip-hop history decides she is done with you, the only question left is how loud the collapse is going to be when it finally happens. This one is going to be loud. Loud enough that every internet creator who has built a brand on cheap defamation is going to feel it in their chest cavity. Loud enough that the gossip economy itself gets rewritten in real time. And loud enough that years from now, when somebody opens a media law textbook and flips to the chapter defining the defamation case of the modern internet era, the first name on the page is not going to be Tasha K's. It is going to be Cardi B's. Because Tasha K becomes the cautionary footnote. Cardi B becomes the precedent itself. That is the structural difference between making history and being made an example of by it. Tasha K picked a fight assuming she was punching up at a celebrity she could outlast. She did not realize she was actually punching directly into the patient, relentless, well-funded legal apparatus of a woman with infinite resources and a documented 6-year willingness to dismantle anyone who tries her in public. Lesson learned, the hardest possible way, on the biggest possible stage, with the entire internet watching every single second of it unfold. Book it. Save it. Quote me on it later. Because everything from here only escalates. All. Loud enough to be heard from every federal courthouse to every defense-built comments section that ever organized itself around protecting the indefensible. Loud enough to echo down a generation. Loud.